That's all for this week, but if you enjoyed what you heard, then please subscribe to our podcasts. Just search for The Climate Question. The show was produced by Ben Cooper with help from researchers Octavia Woodward and Sharouk El-Kabrosi. The series producer is Alex Lewis and the editor is China Collins. Sound design by Tom Bricknell. Bye-bye.
This is the BBC World Service with Harriet Gilbert to tell us about the next World Book Club.
I'll be talking with the acclaimed Italian physicist and writer Carlo Rovelli. From the theory of relativity to quantum mechanics, Rovelli presents complex concepts with remarkable clarity in this runaway bestseller.
World Book Club from the 3rd of February. At bbcworldservice.com, The Conversation.
Today we meet two women who turn their grief into a force for good. Charlotte Meyer and Rashi Tukran both lost a loved one to suicide. Listen to their conversation as they share their personal stories of love and loss and how to heal with each other.
This is the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
This is the BBC World Service. I'm Johnny Diamond, and World Questions today is all about Norway. This small northern European country is one of the richest in the world, but suddenly it faces so many of the problems that challenge the rest of wealthy Europe. Sharply rising living costs, labour shortages, and in this squeaky clean country, corruption in politics and finance. And the link between immigration and crime is hotly debated. How can this oil-rich nation, which has a sovereign wealth fund and national reserve of $1.4 trillion, transform itself into a green economy as the world tries to give up its addiction to oil? Is the country's traditional social democratic model unravelling in favour of free market economics? Join me and four prominent politicians and analysts as they take questions from the public in Norway. That's World Questions Norway, coming up after the World Service News.
Hello, I'm Emily Thomas with the BBC News. In 2022, our Asia-Pacific editor, Mickey Bristow, reports.
The accelerating fall in the population is partly because of more deaths, many of them caused by COVID. There are also fewer babies born in 2023 than the year before. The reduction is expected to be less this year, as many couples look to have children in the Chinese zodiac's Year of the Dragon, which begins next month. But China's population is on a long-term decline, a trend officials are trying to slow. They once forced women to have one child, now they want them to have 3.
Ukraine's foreign minister said his country's priority for 2024 is to gain air superiority over Russia. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Dmytro Kuleba said control over the skies would define when and how the war would end.
That will require providing Ukraine with planes, which are underway, F-16s are underway, long-range missiles, drones, and of course electronic warfare. If all of that comes, we will continue winning and we will continue liberating. But, we're fighting a very big enemy.
Palestinians in the southern Gaza Strip say there were intense Israeli airstrikes in the city of Khan Yunis overnight. They also say Israeli tanks have returned to parts of northern Gaza from which they'd recently withdrawn. Israel had previously said the intense stage of its military operations in the area was over. The Biden administration has welcomed an announcement by Qatar of a deal to send medicines to Israeli hostages held by Hamas, as well as increased aid for Palestinians in Gaza. Qatar's foreign ministry said an aid consignment would leave Doha on Wednesday under an agreement between Israel and Hamas. Iran has been accused of carrying out another airstrike beyond its borders, this time in neighbouring Pakistan. Earlier this week, it hit targets in Iraq and Syria. The government in Islamabad warned of potentially serious consequences in response to what it said was a deadly violation of its airspace. From Islamabad, here's Caroline Davis with more on the Iranian operation.
According to the state media, they were targeting and hitting the Pakistan headquarters of this group, Jaish al-Adil, this group that they refer to as a terror group, also designated a terror group by the United States. Now, we've also heard from the Pakistan Foreign Ministry here. In response, they have called this, they've strongly condemned it. They've said that this is an unprovoked violation of its airspace by Iran. They say that the strike resulted in the death of two children and that 3 further were injured as well.
This is the World News from the BBC. A ferry carrying a number of vehicles has capsized in Bangladesh. Officials say the vessel was crossing over the River Padma, about 80 kilometres west of the capital Dhaka, in dense fog when it was hit by a bulk carrier. They say there were 9 trucks and other vehicles on the ferry. About a dozen people have been rescued. There's been an unexpected rise in the annual rate of inflation in Britain. It rose last month by 0.1 of a percentage point to 4%. There'd been forecasts of a slight fall. Higher tobacco prices caused by increased duties are partly to blame. A new type of cancer drug that's far less toxic than chemotherapy is being offered to children in the UK with a form of leukemia as part of a long-term study. Early indications suggest the drug, called Blina, has many benefits, including being treated at home. Our health reporter, Michelle Roberts, reports.
Doctors say blinatumomab, or Blina, is gentler than chemotherapy with fewer side effects. This immunotherapy is already licensed to treat adults. Experts hope to show it can help children too. 20 centres around the UK are already using it on patients with a type of blood cancer called B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Blina helps the body's own immune system seek out and destroy the cancer. The treatment's precisely targeted, leaving healthy cells untouched.
Guinness World Records has announced an investigation into the case of a Portuguese dog, which last year it declared to be the oldest dog ever. The firm said Bobby had died at the age of 31 years, 165 days, but the evidence for this was questioned by some vets. Bobby was a purebred Rafeiro do Alentejo, a breed that has an average life expectancy of 12 to 14 years. The previous oldest dog record had stood for more than a century. BBC News.
This is the BBC World Service. I am Johnny Diamond and welcome to World Questions, the programme that puts people and their questions at the heart of the debate. This month we'll be hearing questions and answers and debate about Norway. This Nordic European nation of just 5.5 million people is one of the wealthiest countries in the world. The oil and gas reserves discovered in its waters in the 1960s have helped create a national sovereign wealth fund, a reserve of around $1.4 trillion. That's the largest in the world. Traditionally, Norway has enjoyed low levels of social inequality, a high standard of living with a generous welfare and education system, and a devotion to work-life balance. Yet, many Norwegians now say that although the state is getting richer, they are not. A cost of living crisis, rising prices, worries over immigration levels, and an ageing population are just some of their concerns that we'll be hearing about today. Plus, labour shortages and the environment. Just how will this country make the transition away from its dependency on oil and gas to a new, greener economy? So plenty to talk about, and with us to take questions and hopefully give some answers on the future of the nation is our panel. Hadia Tajik is a Labour MP. The Labour Party leads the country in coalition with the Centre Party. She joins us from the capital, Oslo. Hello, Hadia.
Hiya.
Henrik Asheim is a Member of Parliament for the main opposition party, the Conservatives. Hi, Henrik.
Hello.
Ella Marie Hatta Isaksson is a musician and an environmental and indigenous campaigner. She too joins us from Oslo. Welcome, Ella Marie. And Nils August Andersen is an economist and historian, editor of the journal Minerva. Thank you very much for joining us, Nils.
Nice to be here.
That takes us very smoothly to our first question. It comes from Louise. Hello, Louise.
Hi, good afternoon. My question was that the biggest issue right now is the rising cost of living. Interest rates have been increased 14 times, and the cost of electricity is insane. The government keeps saying that they sympathise, but the Prime Minister is a multimillionaire, so how on earth can he truly understand? The middle class is beginning to suffer, and many of us have good salaries, but we're experiencing not being able to pay our bills. How can the government defend this?
Thanks very much, Louise. A question on the cost of living, which has been a question on so many programmes before, ricocheting around the world, but perhaps all the more surprising in such a wealthy country. Let's start with Hadia Tajik, the Labour MP for the governing Labour Party. How can the government defend the struggle of so many in Norway as prices have rocketed?
Thank you for the question, Louise. Unfortunately, even in Norway, the cost of living crisis is a very real thing for many households and businesses. It's the price of food, it's the price of energy, and it's the policy rate of the National Bank, and all three of them have gone up. Norway is not a country where we decide on these factors by political decisions. But what we can do is that we can influence the household economies through other decisions. We can partly compensate some of these costs, which we have, since we have compensated most of the rise in the energy prices for the household. While in other areas, we've tried to lower the costs of everyday living. For instance, lowering the costs of families with kids when they have kids in the kindergarten, making sure that it's in the future 1,000 kronor less every month if you have a child in kindergarten. We made changes in the income tax to favor people with lower and middle incomes, just to give a few examples. There are more things that should be done and can be done in the future, but it's important for us to find strategies in dealing with the cost of living crisis that are needed in a more normalized situation as well. So we're trying to plan for the future because we are afraid to end up in a situation where we are tempted to overspend, and it will make things even more difficult. The thing is, in Norway, the prices have probably been quite high in Norway compared to many European countries for a long time, but usually the income has been able to compensate for the high prices, and now we're in a situation where this is no longer the case. And yes, unfortunately, I've heard from many middle-income families that they have had to make significant changes in how they live their everyday life.
Nils August Andersen, economist. The question, how can the government defend this? The broader question, how can Norwegians deal with these sharply rising prices?
You said, Johnny, it's surprising that this is a problem even in wealthy Norway. But in a sense, it's partly because we have been so wealthy for so long that this is a shock that is slightly different in Norway than in many other countries. This is the first real blow to the Norwegian middle class in 30 years. It sort of goes against our identity as the richest country in the world. That's even an expression in Norway. Like, in the richest country in the world, how can this be? And now it is, and maybe we're not the richest country anymore. And it's a complicated problem, and it consists of two parts. One is generally rising prices. And the problem is that the oil fund, the sovereign wealth fund, is not the best way to deal with that, because you can't just compensate people, because that will feed into the inflation spiral. So the usual tool that we have to deal with problems, throwing money at the problem, that doesn't really work. So that's a restriction. The other problem, which is energy prices, electricity prices, that is a very complex and very heated topic. There was a very unfortunate timing in the Norwegian government opening 2 new electricity cables to the continent just before the prices started to rise. And the two phenomena are not the same, but they are related. And a lot of the venom and anger in the Norwegian debate is that, why is it that we had to do this? Couldn't we just, not export the electricity but have cheaper prices in Norway?
Thank you very much, Nils. Ella Marie Hatta Isaksen, the questioner, Louise, asks, how can the government defend this? Do you think this is something that the government should be involved in?
Oh, of course. It's always the government's responsibility to take care of us. And I think the point here is that people are struggling and the government is not seeming to do enough to help those people. And at the same time, the richest people of our country are fleeing because they don't want to pay the high taxes anymore. So we have problems here that need to be solved. And this is certainly not my area of expertise, but I will say that one of the issues that sparks debates right now is, how do we spend the electricity? Where is it going? And I am very much against the government's plans on spending electricity from land to the offshore oil platforms. So this is maybe a debate that we return to here.
I think we may come back later in the programme to that particular debate or an aspect of it. Thank you very much indeed. Henrik Aschheim, the questioner asks, how can the government defend this? You're not in government at the moment. Do you think this is this a place for government?
Well, yes, definitely, when it comes to seeing how we can help people. Remember that a lot of these problems, both inflation and energy prices, are basically imported issues right now. We have to see this in comparison to the fact that Russia is using energy, for instance, as a weapon against Europe, which means that also Norway get higher energy prices. Now, I think Norwegians have always been very used to having low energy prices. This has been one of our benefits. And if you go to other countries in Europe, you're used to seeing that people turn off and on the lights when they go in and out of rooms. In Norway, people normally just keep every light on in every room because they're so used to having cheap energy. So we also have to just get used to the fact that energy will be more expensive even in Norway. Now, one of the things that we have done from the parliament, and the government has been strong on this, I think, is to support families on the energy bill. Now, the businesses don't get this. So smaller businesses that, for instance, if you are a bakery or something like that and use a lot of energy, you have a big issue with paying those bills. And the other thing is that when we are trying to help people, we have to see who are struggling the most. And it's not just a question of how much income you have, but what kind of expenses do you have. So families that are quite young with several children that have high mortgage loans, they have the biggest issues right now. So we try to help them more than other groups.
Thank you very much. Louise, you heard what people had to say. First of all, did you hear anything there that you thought, yes, absolutely, or no, completely not? And secondly, can you just give us and all the listeners an idea of how your life, if your life, has had to change as a result of the change in prices and the cost of living?
There's nothing I haven't heard before. It's more, it's like a repeat record. We know that the energy crisis and the inflation rates are important. We know that, of course. I have never in my life left lights on in my house. The problem is also that all these things that they're saying that targeting, but they're targeting smaller groups. They're targeting people who are on benefits, which is wonderful for the people on benefits. They're targeting people with children in kindergarten and after-school programs, which is fine if you've got children in after-school programs. I've got a 14-year-old. She's expensive to run. And also, they have actually reduced the electricity support. So the energy bill that for 3 years ago, for me in December was about 1,500 kroners, is now nearly 3,000. And I'm cold. I think we should try and get help to the entire Norwegian population and not just smaller or larger groups of people. Everything is going up, and not just the interest rates and the electricity, but it's water, sewage, everything, food.
Okay, Louise, thank you very much indeed. Hadia, you wanted to pick up, I think, on a point that you heard earlier and perhaps respond to what Louise had to say there.
Respectfully, I have to disagree with some of the points from Louise. The policy changes that have been made, they're not just for some groups. Some of the policy changes are related to larger changes like lowering taxes for lower and middle incomes, which we have done, and the general compensation when it comes to household and energy prices, which equals about 40 billion Norwegian kroner, and it illustrates how it is relevant from large groups in Norway.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And thanks to Louise for the question and the contribution. It's very much appreciated. Let's go on to our second questioner, Andreas. Hi.
Thank you, Johnny. My question is on healthcare. And so public health services are supposed to address increasingly complex demands from their patients, Norwegian citizens. But at the same time, there's a lack of skilled health workers in Norway, especially in small communities. So how should Norway deal with this?
Thank you very much. Public health services are supposed to address increasingly complex demands from their patients. There is a lack of skilled health workers, particularly in small communities. How should Norway deal with this? I mean, this is a problem for a great swathe of the rich world. Nils August Andersen, economist, a lack of skilled health workers and sharply rising demand from some groups.
The challenge for all developed economies with aging populations. We have a labor supply shortage. In a sense, it means that you say maybe wages are not sufficiently high in that sector. You could increase wages for nurses. You could double them, and then you would have a lot more nurses. and then you will get a lot less people in other sectors. I think that's a very expensive solution to this problem, and it's not one that's going to happen. But we have a lot of government subsidies, a lot of government spending that creates demand labor in a lot of sectors that we don't really necessarily need.
Can you give us an idea of what sectors you're talking about?
We have an NGO sector that is very big.
Non-governmental organizations, right?
Yes, where the government will give money to organizations that will basically have as their main objective to lobby the government to pursue a different policy than they otherwise would. But we have a lot of other stuff as well that we spend more on different cultural objectives from a government point of view than most other countries. We have a very large percentage of GDP is public in Norway compared to other countries. And all this spending also implies that you have to employ people to do the things that you spend money to do. And that means that those people cannot at the same time be good teachers, good nurses, good doctors. There is a competition. There is a limited set of workers in a country. And that is important to understand. You can't just spend more money on all things at the same time if you need to prioritize an area of the economy to get more skilled workers there. You can't at the same time spend all those money hiring skilled people in other areas. The only way it can go up is to import those workers, which can be done and which Norway also has done to a large extent when it comes to nurses. But during the pandemic, a lot of that was reversed. People went home and left a gap.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Ella Marie Hatta Isaksson, the question about a lack of skilled health workers, particularly in small communities, and how Norway should deal with it.
Yeah, I am from a really small community. I'm from the farthernmost county in Norway, and it's been a very big change in my life to move to Oslo, where there's so many more opportunities to get treatment if I am ill in any way. So my biggest concern right now is for the northernmost part of Norway, where the biggest debates are sparked when they are discussing localizations of new hospitals or where the hospitals should be, and there's definitely a lack of hospitals in the north. So it's a very challenging situation now, and it's heartbreaking to see people losing healthcare in their hometowns.
Can you give us an idea of what healthcare is like for the Sami people?
Many of the main problems for the Sami people, I would say, is that we're not able to receive healthcare in our own language. And that is actually a right we have, that we should be able to talk to doctors in our own language, but that is very much not possible. And also for mental health, that is a big issue. Indigenous peoples, just like all around the world, have issues that are more mental and that need to be treated, but I don't really see the urge from the government to solve that part of this problem.
Thank you very much, Ella Marie. Hadia Tajik, this question of skilled health workers in particular is one of the big gaps in workers in Norway. About 5,000 nurses posts are vacant. Is there an answer, a range of answers?
The government put down a health personnel commission. It's an expert commission to give us expert advice on how to deal with this situation. And they were very clear on the matter that more personnel is not the answer. Rather, we have to use the workers that we already have in a better way than we do. We need more workers within the healthcare system to work full-time rather than part-time. It's a female-dominated sector, and many of the workers work part-time. So we have to stimulate to more full-time work. Secondly, we have to use technology in a sensible way to direct the personnel that we have to the places where they are needed. For instance, using more sensors, alerting personnel if elderly have a bad fall at home and need immediate help. And thirdly, we need to organize the different levels of healthcare in a more integral way than we are doing today. And basically that means in a country like Norway that we have to prioritize the healthcare in the municipalities more. Because if we do that, we prevent the need of more specialized care later on in life. In some situations, consolidation will be necessary, and the Labour Party has contributed to that in some situations because it has been necessary to secure the quality of the healthcare that people are getting. And at the same time, we are a country where we have people living in all parts of our country, and we want to facilitate that and making sure that you have safety of health is a big part of facilitating people's lives around the country.
Okay, thank you. Henrik Asheim, Conservative MP, on this question about the base question about the lack of workers.
Well, we have a lot of workers. The problem is that people get sick on different times of the day. It's not like everyone gets sick between 9 and 4 on weekdays. And that means that you have to have a system that can man both the hospitals, but also the care for the elderly all the time, every weekend, night and day. That, of course, is difficult for a lot of people who also has families and want their day to and their life to be organized. One of the things we did last time we were in government, we actually changed the law to say that you can work up to 12 and a half hours a day, as in one work session. That created a lot of debate when we did it, but what we see now is that a lot of both care for the elderly, but also hospitals are trying this out. And it means that people can work fewer days, have more time off, but longer shifts when they work. This also makes it possible to man all the hours of the day and night, and it makes it possible for more people to work full time, because you don't have to have all of these small work parts to fill the gaps. Now, I think this is one of the things, when we know that we will lack workers in so many sectors, we also have to see how we spend the time and how we use the workers most efficiently. And when this has been tested out, the workers who do it, they say that they have more time off, they're more organized life, and they get more pay. So I think this is also one of the solutions to make sure that people can actually fill all the hours of the hospitals and healthcare, because we need all the people that we can to do that important work.
And I'm going to come back to Nils August in a moment, but he mentioned one answer that some people talk about, which is more immigration. Would you be in favour of that?
Well, we have actually, I think, 80% of the increased workers in Norway from year 2000 to 2020 was immigration. It was workers from Eastern Europe coming to Norway. The issue now is that all of Europe is lacking workforce, that Eastern Europe is getting wealthier, the salaries are higher, and Norway, as beautiful and as much as I love it, it's also cold and expensive, and you get paid in Norwegian kroners, which is not necessarily very good against the euro or the pound. That means that we have to think outside the box, not just to think about how can we import people. We will need to do that as well, but we have to think how can we use the workforce we have in a better and more rational way.
Thank you. Nils August, you said you wanted to come back in on a point that was made earlier.
Yeah, just a brief comment. Obviously, Please. In Norway, healthcare is mostly public spending, so public share of GDP will go up. I'm fine with that, but we also spend a lot of other issues that other countries don't necessarily spend that much on, and that is an important point, not just for healthcare, but for all sectors that need labor. Other than that, I completely agree that we need to utilize labor much more efficiently. And one of the challenges is, of course, that this really puts to the front some of the conflicts inherent in politics, and maybe especially for the Labour Party, because some of this involves conflicts with the labor union. How to deal with the fact that you need healthcare workers in the weekends. How often should healthcare workers be obliged to work in the weekend? That's a very difficult debate that we really, really saw the effects of during the pandemic. Even though we have more healthcare workers than most other countries, we struggled with manning some of the intensive care units for the weekends. And that's also one of the reasons why you have a lot of part-time work, is that, when people can't work that often in the weekends, you need to have part-time workers to fill those slots. So it's a very complex issue that really needs some courage in dealing with both municipal conflicts and labor unions. And that's going to be a challenge for both the main political parties in Norway.
Nils August, thank you very much. Let's go back to our question. Andreas, you went out of your way to talk about the increasingly complex demands from patients, which is something, again, across the wealthy world, the aging wealthy world in particular. They're seeing a lot of spending towards the end of life and a lot of demands towards the end of life. What do you think about finding a solution, Andreas, to the lack of skilled health workers?
I think there have been a lot of good points made, and I would add my voice to those. But what I would add is we've had a, let's say, 20-year golden age in Norway now with, increasing wealth levels. And with that, as Nils August mentioned, we've had Norwegians expecting a lot and more from public services. And we sort of live in a country where we kind of expect the government to solve everything. I think going forward, what we need is politicians who help us actually manage our expectations. But I think a lot of Norwegians are expecting a lot from the Norwegian public health system and are maybe increasingly finding a gap between those expectations and what the system actually delivers. We need politicians, I think, to, going forward, actually help us understand what can we expect the public health system to deliver and what can we not expect it to deliver.
Andreas, thank you very much indeed for sharing your thoughts with us. We're going to pause there for the news. We'll be back with our Norwegian panel and questioners for more BBC World Questions very soon.
This is the BBC World Service, where Berliners reveal the stories of the Jewish families who once lived in their homes in Nazi Germany.
I found out that from our flat, 9 people got deported.
Do you know how many of them survived?
Nobody survived.
The city is full of memorials to the victims. But for this documentary, I'm going to get as close as is possible to get to the world they lost. I'm Jo Glanville. I'll be visiting the kitchens they cooked in, the bedrooms they slept in, the front rooms they relaxed in.
Sie sind auch diese Treppe. They walk down the same stairs to take down the rubbish and they watch the S-Bahn train passing from that balcony. There are lots of parallels which helped me understand what it was like to live here in this flat at that time.
Our House. Stories of the Holocaust. Tuesday at 9:30 and 20 GMT.
This is the BBC World Service. I'm Johnny Diamond and you're listening to World Questions, debating the future of Norway. So far we've discussed the rising cost of living, healthcare and social mobility. Next we'll debate if and how the country will transition away from oil to a greener future. And does the nation need more or fewer immigrants? Join us for more World Questions Norway straight after the BBC World Service News.
BBC News with Emily Thomas. China's population has dropped for the second year running by more than 2 million people. That's double the decline in 2022. An increase in deaths has been linked to the coronavirus pandemic. There was also a fall in the birth rate. There have been calls for calm after Pakistan accused Iran of launching a missile attack on its territory, killing 2 children. China urged both countries to show restraint. 2 Qatari military planes carrying medicines for hostages in Gaza have arrived in Egypt. An agreement for the supplies was made between Israel and Hamas. Palestinians in the southern Gaza Strip say the city of Khan Yunis was targeted by Israeli airstrikes overnight. The Israeli army says 2 senior officers were killed in action in the north. Ukraine's foreign minister says his country's priority for this year is to gain air superiority over Russia. Dmytro Kuleba said control over the skies would define when and how the war would end. A rights activist in the Russian Republic of Bashkortostan has been sentenced to 4 years in a penal colony after a court found him guilty of inciting ethnic hatred. Fal Alsnov was accused of insulting migrants at a protest against plans to mine for gold there. A court in Kenya has ruled that the leader of a doomsday cult linked to the deaths of hundreds of people should undergo a mental health assessment ahead of a murder trial. Paul Mackenzie Ntenge was arrested in April after the police began finding bodies in shallow graves near the coastal town of Malindi. Some children in the UK with a form of leukemia are being offered a new type of cancer drug that's far less toxic than chemotherapy. Blina helps the immune system target and destroy cancer cells, leaving healthy cells untouched, unlike with chemotherapy. The treatment has many benefits, including being portable. BBC News.
Hello.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820, or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Hey, Charlie, you're on your way to Ghana. Boy, oh boy, you stressed out, tired. Go, you're going to be resting. Okay, then let me recommend to you JN Mobile Spa in Accra, Ghana. Oh boy, JN Mobile Spa, they provide organic care in massage. Are you stressed? Do you need rejuvenated, etc.? For your facials, maybe exfoliating, firming, and lifting? Then contact JN Spar on 00233 244 941 002 or 00233 2006 06386, and they will be right there on time. JN Mobile Spa, your health and beauty needs at your doorstep.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour Show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour Show is your best source into the property industry.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Vedasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamb@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Live online.
Body is your man. Bekutu, show them you got the cocoa set. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Harrison, aka Mr. Songs. This is the Kingmaker.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Star Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
You know, just have fun and stay blessed.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Star Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
The best radio show.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world. In your car,
At work,
at home,
on your smartphone.
This is Starr Radio UK. Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie, and you are listening to Star Radio UK and the Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio. This is UK. Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
Welcome.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Enlighten your day with Starr Radio.
The best radio show.
Starr Radio. Radio for the people, by the people.
All of you makes my heart beat.
Welcome.
Make a doubt they fade. Jesus, and that's what makes you great. You hold the world in your
Oh, massive good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth and those of you on other planets as well. I want to salute each and every one of you and welcome you to the Wednesday edition of the morning show. Today is the 17th day of January, the year 2024. Is it your birthday today? Are you celebrating a special day or something? Whatever it is that you're celebrating, we want to say a massive good morning and a happy birthday or a happy celebration of any sort there. But thank God that you are still alive. You are celebrating life, right? Yes, and we are with you. And we say massive good morning. Thank God for another day. Thank God for your life and thank God for my life. And as we say, if you are from Nigeria, it's not happy to you. We are not happy to you there. say good morning to my team this morning. Mr. Francis Guy, my able producer, who is working behind the scenes, making sure everything is ticking along nicely. To Mr. Olayomi Koiki, yes, my colleague and co-presenter, all the way in North London, as I said, he's now working behind the scenes until we sort an up full time or a time where he can be able to join us live on the program as well.
All of you makes.
But that doesn't mean that he's not working. He's working with us. Yeah, he's working all the news items that I'll bring you. With it. And let's also say good morning to Bishop Adeshina, Anthony Adedeji, Aziz, good morning to you. Olakunle, good morning. Tosino, good morning to you. Shamsuddin, massive good morning to you and to every one of you who's tuning in this morning to listen to us.
One who took my pain, took away my shame.
So let me put it this way, all protocol observed. Felix, good morning to you. Kojodi, good morning to you. Dr. Martin, good morning to you. So from now to 12 o'clock, when I bring the curtains down for the first part of the program and take you to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time, this is what's going to happen. Starr Radio UK.
Holy, holy.
Okay, so I'll bring you the quote for the day, the weather forecast will follow suit, then the travel updates, and we will go global trotting. Then after that, I'll bring you some of the stories making the rounds from Nigeria and from other parts of the world, because it's a Wednesday edition of the morning show. We say before position, we are pressed with time, so we're going to be going on that part. That's 11:30. The lines are open. If you want to hop in or hop on to say or do anything, yeah, you feel free to do so. Then after that, exactly at 12 o'clock, I take you to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. So in Nigeria, that's what's going to happen today. So wherever you are, stay tuned and don't touch the dial. Starr Radio UK. The quote for the day says, have a plan and remain firmly committed to your plan, values and goals, even if you encounter some opposition. Don't throw in the towel. Hey, Ahinaba David, good morning to you, my brother. I hope you are doing very, very well, and the family as well. Okay, let me tell you about what is happening when it comes to the weather front this morning here in London and the southeastern part of England. Okay. So what is going to happen is that today we'll see a dull start with plenty of cloud, but these will gradually recede south eastward through the day, allowing for prolonged spells of wintry sunshine to develop in the afternoon. It's going to be chilly though, or it is chilly. Now tonight will remain largely dry with plenty of clear spells. However, a few patches of light low clouds may drift in from the north overnight. It's going to be cold. Temperature between the 40 degrees and lowest going to -4. UV level low, pollution low. Sunset between 24 and sunrise for tomorrow morning. 07:58 hours. And this is all coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
You will never change. You remain the same till the end.
Now moving on straight to the travel this morning. What have I got in stock for you? For those of you traveling on the underground this morning here in London, well, the Central and Piccadilly line has got minor delays. That aside, all the others are running a good service. DLR, London Public and London Overground running a good service there as well. But keep your eyes on the roads, as we keep navigating our promise, our box. Let's take us straight to the major roads in London. I can tell you shortly, there are no exceptional delays there. And on the river bus as well, good service throughout. London Cable Car is also running a good service. But you know what? Whatever it is, you keep your eyes on the road. Segment of the travel update, that is the National Rail. This is what is happening there on the National Rail this morning. Avanti West Coast, First Transparent Express, ScotRail, Southeastern Railway, Southern, and have all got minor delays. Also, Southwestern Railway has got special service. That aside, all the others are running a good service. So you enjoy your journey. But whatever it is, continue to keep your eyes on the roads. And I will say it this way: good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you, wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute today. But you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the road.
worship you.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from Sendwave. Sendwave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With Sendwave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, Sendwave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking it out on our website. So how do you use Sendwave? Sendwave is an app that you can download onto your App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it, you're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. The money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 079-737-647 anytime. I'll be happy to tell you all about Sendwave. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
This is the morning show with Archie.
Welcome back to the program Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, bringing the time now to exactly 5 minutes to the top of the hour, and it is the Wednesday edition of the morning show. Yes, Kwaku and yes, the girls are doing well there. Yes, and my loud and as well. Okay, now let's crack on. Well. So what is happening?
It is the first of its kind in the whole globe.
Now, when it comes to Nigeria, some of the stories that is happening there, Buhari has come out to say why he did not sack the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele, who is now fighting a legal battle with the EFCC and all those DSS and all those. Yes. And then your governor Seyi Makinde reveals cause of Ibadan explosion. There was an explosion, and we'll be telling you more about that. The governor called for calm as casualties damaged buildings trail Ibadan explosion there as well. The damaged trail and everything. So we're going to be telling you more about all that as the program unfolds. Because we are pressing time, let me quickly move on to other stories making the rounds this morning. The Comoros, Asumani is being re-elected for another third term. Is it a third or fourth term? With 62.7% of votes. I bet you the opposition is going to be saying that, well, the thing that the election was not free and fair, that it was rigged in a way.
There could be more.
So we don't know. We're watching it very, very closely. So wherever you are, do so. And then some other stories. Mauritius and Reunion clean up after cyclone damage. Yesterday we talked about the cyclone that is going to be hitting Mauritius, and they're saying that they have started reclaiming or cleaning after the cyclone damage is there. And Kagame Blinken meet in Davos. Some of the stories making the rounds. Rwanda says it kills Congolese soldiers and have arrested 2 more. Wow. Peace in that particular area has to be
equivalent in cash is $5,700 today.
So
$5,700
very important. And a Kenya court leader faces murder and terrorism charges. Well.
So if you
it's another story that the less I talk about it, the better. But let's move on to other stories making the rounds there as well. When it comes to Ghana, people attributes neglect of development in a conflict to residents vote against Atiku. Now, if some people decide that they don't like the person who is representing them in parliament and decide to choose someone else, does the government have to punish that particular person that the citizens voted for? Do the citizens pay their taxes? Somebody say yes. Are they citizens of the country? Somebody say yes. Now, if they are, and you are the president not for your party, but the president for the whole country, why shouldn't those ones also enjoy some development or see development in their communities? Quite interesting when African leaders do all those.
That's how easy it is.
Okay, if Ferreira resigns as finance minister, Ghana will be
hundreds of dollars every hour in $5,700.
Now, Atecha is supposed to be an MPP steward. So why is he saying so? I'll be telling you more about all that in a moment. But listeners, it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK.
Energy supplies don't want you to know about this trick to warm up houses for practically zero cost. This space heater is being called the Tesla of heaters. It can warm up a freezing cold room from 7 degrees to 20 degrees in minutes without
in a UK phone, tobacco and alcohol fuel surprise
This powerful heater was
inflation
created by
rise.
Mike
Oh
Saunders
boy,
and
we should
Robert
have
Jones,
gagged all these people.
two
No alcohol,
ex-engineers from one
no
of the
tobacco,
biggest technology
and then
companies
we'll have
in the
our
world.
inflation
They
down to
wanted
where
to
it was.
provide
But
an
now it looks like
effective, safe,
inflation
and
has
affordable way to
been,
heat homes without the big costs.
Flame,
So after years of
fuel,
research and testing, they
to
created
rise
a
from
unique and
the intake
powerful
or the
heater.
usage
They
of
named
alcohol
it Well
and
Heater,
tobacco.
a brilliant new
And then
alternative
some
to
other
outdated
stories.
heating
Temperatures
systems
of
that warms
minus
up rooms in
14
seconds for practically
with snow and
zero
ice
cost.
warnings in
The idea
places.
behind the Well
And then
Heater
Prime
is
Minister
brilliant.
Pezisky
The
Rwanda
secret
vote
is the
after
innovative
deputy
ceramic
chairs
heating
quit.
technology that
Now,
allows
Matani
it
is
to blow
confident the
hot
bill
air
will pass,
faster than
despite
any other
Rishi
heating
Sunak
system
suffering
and spread it
his
throughout the
biggest
room.
rebellion
It's faster,
since
safer,
becoming
and uses
a
less
prime
energy
minister.
than
I bet you
non-ceramic
Bojo is
heaters,
sitting
making it
rubbing his
extremely
hands
energy
saying,
efficient.
yeah.
The Well Heater is very easy
But
to
well,
use and works right out of the
let's see
box.
what happens when
Simply
it comes to the vote.
plug it into
Now,
any
Iran
electrical
hits
outlet
third
in your
country
home.
this
Adjust the
week with
temperature of the
strike on
device will warm up
Pakistan
your room in
militants.
Unlike other heaters,
Now,
it comes
Islamabad
packed with
condemns
safety
illegal
features
attack,
and it has no exposed
which Tehran
heating
says
elements.
was
So it's
targeting
completely safe around
rebels.
small
Which
children
rebels
or
were they
pets.
targeting?
It has an
Well,
antimicrobial filter that
are we
prevents
going
the
to
growth of
see
bacteria and mold. Experts
the
say
Middle
it's one of the
East,
most
everything
effective
gets
space heaters on
imploding
the
or
market.
imploding?
Both engineers
as
were
I would say,
surprised by how
with
well
everything
Heater
that is
went
happening,
viral, and
or
the
is it going
thousands
to
of
be
five-star
one of
reviews
those
from
things?
homeowners loving this device.
Some of my friends
If you
will
want a
say they are
fast and
doing
efficient
hanya,
way to
and
warm up
therefore
your
just
house
a matter of
without
time and
paying for
everything
high
will calm down
electricity
nicely.
bills,
Now,
Well
Trump
Heater is the
unleashed
best
followers
space
on
heater for
Carol,
you.
says lawyer.
Since launching
Fresh
this year,
off
they have sold
his
over
victory in Iowa. The
300,000
former
Well
president
Heaters
sits
all
in a
over
New
the
York
world.
courtroom with
Well
his
Heater regular
accuser.
price
And
is
now, you know
£99,
definitely that's
but
all
through
that he
this
does.
special promotion, you can get an exclusive
Claim
50%
intentions,
discount and
and
order
then
Well Heater for
saying,
less
well,
than
you see,
£50
this one is
by
against me.
clicking
They
the
want to
link
do
below.
everything to stop
To
me
distance
from.
themselves
But what
from
do you
cheap
think about the
knockoffs,
presidency?
this product is not
the fact
available
that
on
yesterday I
Amazon
was watching
or
a
in stores.
documentary
It's
that was on
available
ITV, and they were
exclusively
saying
through this
about some
online
were talking
offer
about
for a limited time.
how
Plus,
they say
the
that
founders
Trump
are so
should not be
confident in
allowed
their
anywhere
product, you can return it
near
within 30 days for a
the
full
president,
refund if
the
it
White
doesn't
House
work
at
as
all.
expected. My
But
advice,
man
it's
was alluding
2023,
that, well,
ditch your expensive
during his time at the White
Click
House,
the
he
link
was
below to
thinking
go
that
to the official
they should
website
form,
and
they should
order
have
Well
a
Heater
sort of,
50% discount while
is it
supplies last.
special military for him as the president? I mean, so that like trying to be like what we have Putin, and then we have what do you call him, the North Korea leader, him, and all those like dictators having theirs. So what do you think about that? Should he be allowed? And if it's not, who will be? And with the insurrection, I keep on saying this, that happened 3 years ago. Okay? Should another one happen? Let's say
it's like my favorite
he goes to the election, he wins, and the Democrats decide that we don't want that because we think that he used intimidation or whatever thing to actually cause us to lose the election, and therefore we are also going to make sure that he is not approved to be the president in the capital, and then there's another insurrection. Would that have set a good precedent? Well, Starr Radio UK. And then Dennis King publishes book 3 days into rain. Frederick X discusses thoughts on Denmark's place in world and his relationship with wife. And then flight returns to Japan after drunk man bites two. The man reportedly, a 55-year-old American, said he did not remember what happened. I bet it was over the top. A deadly fire ant formed flood route as warning grows. Australian experts fear one of the world's most invasive species is gaining foothold in new areas. What would they do about it? Lots more going to be coming your way from there. It is Starr Radio UK. 3 minutes past the top of the hour. Let's enjoy this music.
A broken pencil and a sheet and tell them.
Stay tuned.
It's like my favorite song on this album, y'all. It's no secret in our world. People like to talk the things they know and the ones they don't. They will spread lies and rumors.
In your car,
At work.
at home.
On your smartphone.
Star Radio.
So why are
Radio
you
for the
wasting
people,
your time
by
like
the
this?
people.
Hearing those things that break your heart. Give no attention, give no thoughts. Cause people talk, but they'll never help you walk. So whenever they speak, look up and you will see a broken pencil and a sheet. And tell them, say, I'm writing names of talkatives. Yeah.
All of this noise you're making on me. Teacher will get you when he comes. I have a race.
No time to waste.
No time to waste.
I'm writing names of talkatives.
I'm writing names of
1,
talkatives.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
All of
9.
this noise you're making on me.
Teacher, let the way come.
Teacher will get you when he comes. I have a race.
No time to waste.
No time to waste.
There are many voices in this life, and to be honest, many are not
In your car,
At work.
at home.
On your smartphone.
So don't hear something and pick a knife. Cause most of these things are nothing but lies. Teacher said be careful how you hear, cause there are talkatives here, they're everywhere. So silence the voices in your head and give no attention to your fears. I'm writing
names of talkatives.
da 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 da.
All of this noise you're making on me. Teacher will get you when he comes.
As for me,
I have a race.
no time to wait.
No time to waste.
I'm writing names of
I'm
talkatives.
writing names of
1,
talkatives.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
All of this
9,
noise
10,
you're making
11,
on me.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18,
Teacher
19,
will
20.
get you when he comes. I have a race. No time to waste.
Can we talk? Can we talk? Call him, say
Talkatives.
do you know any?
Talkatives.
Yeah. Have you met any?
Talkatives.
Can we write some?
Talkatives.
List some names of talkatives. I am going now.
Talkatives.
Yeah. Some friends are.
Talkatives.
Some family members.
Talkatives.
Some landlords are.
Talkatives.
I said, your
This is
exes
Starr
are.
Radio UK.
Your exes are.
Talkatives.
Archie on
Have you
Star
known
Radio.
any?
Nobody does it
Move
better.
away far from
Talkatives.
opinions are.
Talkatives.
Bloggers.
Talkatives.
Social media.
Talkatives.
Old friends.
Talkatives.
Wow. From Coffee Ball for you. Write the names of talkatives. Yeah, I like constructive criticism, but don't just go destructive criticism, just bashing people left, right, center. You know the cause.
People's opinions are.
Whatever people are doing. Whatever it is, that's what we do here on this platform. So you're allowed to also add your voice to the discussion, whatever it might be. So wherever you are, don't charge it now. Continue to listen to what we start.
Open makeup, dodo.
Whatever you do, remember, and be rest assured that people will talk about it. But it all depends on how you position yourself to combat that, and you will be able to still move on in life and do something about your life as well. But listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. To all our followers on the YouTube and all these other social media platforms, Facebook and all the others, I want to salute each and every one of you and thank you very much for joining us. It is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's go to Nigeria. Let me bring you some of the stories making the rounds there. Well, the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, today said preliminary investigation by security agencies revealed that the explosion that rocked the Bodija area of Ibadan, the state capital, on Tuesday was caused by explosive devices stored by illegal miners. Now, Governor Makinde, who visited the explosion scene last night, said that although further investigations were ongoing, anyone found guilty will be brought to book. He wrote on his X, preliminary investigation by the security agencies revealed that illegal miners occupying one of the houses in Bodija had stored explosive devices there which caused the blast. The investigations are ongoing. All those found culpable for this will be brought to book. The governor said 2 people died while 77 others were injured in the explosion. In total, we have 77 injured victims so far, most of whom were treated and discharged. 2 fatalities. May their souls rest in perfect peace, and may God give their loved ones the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss, Makinde added. The governor also revealed that the victims' medical bills will be taken care of by his government, while promising to provide accommodation to those affected until they rebuild their lives. He urged residents to be calm, noting that rescue operation had already started at the scene of the incident. And it's quite a sad thing that happened there. But as he said, to the lost souls, we say, may their souls rest in perfect peace. And to those who have been wounded, though they've been treated and discharged, and as he said, his government will see to the paying of their medical bills and providing them more support during the time that they are trying to put their lives back together. We say our condolence. We're wishing them speedy recovery and all. Yeah, listeners, Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Anthony, how are you? And how is life treating you there? And how did you see that blasting that happened? What has been the reaction on the ground? It will be lovely to know that as well. And lots of love to you, my brother. Okay, and now let's move on to one of the other stories that is making the headlines, because I said it's a Wednesday edition of the morning show. We are pressed with time, the 4th position, so we are moving swiftly to make sure that we are able to touch on the pertinent stories that is making the round. Now, former President Muhammadu Buhari has revealed why he did not sack former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, that's Godwin Emefiele, when there were speculations of his interest to run for presidency in 2023. Buhari said that Emefiele never discussed it with him. This revelation and others were made public in a memoir titled Working with Buhari's Reflections of a Special Advisor, Media and Publicity 2015 to 2023, written by former advisor to the president, Femi Adesina. The book was presented in Abuja on Tuesday. I met Emefiele in office when I came, and unless there was firm evidence against him, it would be unfair and an act of injustice to remove him, acting on hearsays, Buhari said in the book. If you punish a man unjustly, it could dog his footsteps throughout life. So if you would punish, you must have evidence, and you should know that yourself wouldn't be there forever. You will leave one day. Now, I'm very conscious about the morale of people who serve with me. I also expect whoever succeeds me to be fair to me. I have family, friends who will feel it. I'm very conscious of fairness. Now, when he was linked with campaign for 2023 presidency, I did not ask him because he told nobody he was getting involved. Otherwise, I would have removed him and told the nation why, he added. So the question is it the fact that he wanted to run for presidency? If he had divulged that secret that he wanted to run for presidency, then of course will have to resign his position. So Buhari said he would have sacked him. But I bet he would have resigned before that so that he could run for. And is that why the authorities now are pursuing him? Well, there are claims that he's been corrupted, he's been involved with so many things, and we're talking about Dangote's complex that was invaded a couple of weeks ago and everything that had gone on there. But the issue is, why did that happen? Why did that happen? Is it because Emefiele gave them or those companies, because it wasn't Dangote's only, those big firms, huge sums, or the scarce foreign exchange to do their business? Is that why they are going after them or going after him? So it's quite interesting, isn't it? Well, or was he trying to put money aside so that he could be able to use that to run for his presidency? And if he had, would he have been able to beat Tinubu? And on which platform was he going to run on? When I say platform, I mean which parties was he going to join? Is it the what's that, DPP or the APC? Which one was he going to be joining? Well, or the Labour Party? Okay, but whatever it is, he decided to shield his ambition to shelve his ambition to run for the presidency. So, but well, Buhari has said that was his reason. He said he came to meet him in office, and he was doing a yeoman's job. And though there was allegation that he wanted to leave, or he wanted to be running for presidency and a few things, he said he didn't have enough evidence. So were the DSS and the EFCC working the way they were supposed to work? Or what had happened now? Is it because he's no more there, so now they decided to go after anybody that he's worked with? Well, he says that he hopes that he's treated fairly. Will he? Has he? Well, did he also treat people fairly as well? Pursuing Chief Dr. Sunday Igboho, and going to the Saudis as well, and telling the Igbo people that they should remember what happened back in the day, in the 70s, where they actually fought them, and I mean in the 60s, late 60s to 70s, and everything that had gone on. What do you think about all that? It's quite an interesting one, isn't it? My listeners, this is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. One final story, and then we'll move on from Nigeria because we are pressed with time. It's unbearable. Sharia Council blasts Tinubu over economic hardship in Nigeria. Now, before Tinubu came in, Tinubu's move was the removal of the subsidy, the fuel subsidy, that people might say that, well, it has affected. But the thing is, there are people who are well-to-do and they don't give a hoot about that. And that's why I was saying that it should be means-tested so that the needy ones, let's say those who are running commercial vehicles, they will be the ones who could bring their coupons in to get their refunds or whatever thing that is happening. But even there, again, we have people who are using commercial vehicles. They drive their vehicles to neighboring countries and then discharge the fuel that is in there, and then so it's quite an interesting one, isn't it? But well, all in all, well, the Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria has tackled President Bola Ahmed Tinubu over the persistent economic hardship Nigerians are grappling with. Now, Sheikh Abdul Rashid Hadiyatullah, the president of the council, disclosed this at a conference in Abuja yesterday. And according to him, the suffering of Nigerians has heightened under Tinubu with the rising cost of food, goods, and services nationwide. The suffering of Nigerians has escalated since President Tinubu assumed office. I thought that they are well informed, and therefore they will know exactly what are the causes there. Now, what used to cost 200 naira is now being sold for 2,000 naira. My goodness, this one is proper galloping inflation times 10, right? 10 times. Or, as we would say, 10,000% rise. Now, Nigeria's current state is marked by cash scarcity, unemployment, and economic challenges, he said. In a report, he said that food inflation increased to 28.92% and 33%, respectively, in December 2023, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Meanwhile, a financial expert, Okechukwu Unegbe, former president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers, has said the country's true inflation rate exceeds 40%. Listeners, this is Star Radio UK. This is the Wednesday edition of the morning show, and that's where we bring the update from Nigeria to close there. Moving on straight to some of the other stories making the rounds this morning in other parts of the world. Well, the news in Ibadan has also been captured on other platforms as well. Residents in the southwestern state of Oyo, densely populated Ibadan city, heard a loud blast at about 7:45 p.m., causing panic as many fled. They thought it was, but they were saying that the rate is only 2, but I can see here in the picture before me 3 bodies. I don't know. Maybe others might be mangled things that have been put in there. But what do you think about all that? A very sad one, as I did say earlier on. May their souls rest in perfect peace. And again, hoarding or storage of explosives. Okay. Let's move on to some of the other stories making the rounds this morning there. And this time around to the Comoros. The Comoros president, Azali Assoumani, has won a new 5-year term. The country's electoral body announced yesterday, late yesterday. On Wednesday, scuffles were reported in the capital, Moroni, following the proclamation of the result. The election held on Sunday was marked by allegation of fraud and irregularities. Assoumani faced off against 5 opponents, ultimately winning with 62.97% of the vote. Now, results published by the Independent National Electoral Commission announced a voter turnout of 16.3%. That is very poor. Very, very poor. The climate was tense in the archipelago as Comoros awaited the results. Some 340,000 voters were called to choose a president and governors in Africa's first election of 2024. And already they say that it was raveled with what? Fraud and irregularities. And therefore the opposition are on the rampage already. But what do you think is going to happen there? What do you think is going to happen there? This is all coming away from Star Radio UK. 11:22 the time, the morning show, the program. Now, does it mean to say that, well, how many times have we run for president? Is it this is going to be his 3rd or 4th term? And he's saying that his popularity has not gone down in any way, shape, or form, that he could hit 62.97% if it is true. If it is true, okay? Apart from the percentage of people who went to, who went to vote, which is 16%, which is very poor. Very, very poor. Is it because of intimidation? What actually took place there? But my question has been that when we see developing countries where people don't look, even if it's not only developing countries, there are others, in advanced countries, where people are not looking at policies and ideology. I think they do more of that. But, and again, as whether the person, the action or inaction of these individuals or candidates are ones that we all have to support their quest to become the leaders of the country, I'm not very sure. But in Africa, I doubt that happens. It's because, this one hails from my village. It's my brother's cousin's wife, sister, husband. And therefore, we will just get on with that. And then we go on and we vote without policies. So, you have a case where when somebody comes into power, like what is happening in Ghana, which I'll be touching on in the next few moments, with a statement by the president that a community has not received or have not seen any development due to the fact that they decided not to vote for the ruling government's candidate, parliamentary candidate there because of that. And I asked myself the question, so do you think it's fair for you to say something of the sort? You get it? Ah, my goodness. Listen, this is Star Radio UK. This is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. So, 16.3%. That would say that, well, we called everybody to come and vote. Did they take into account those who were intimidated and therefore decided not to come? Or people were reluctant to do so? Or voter apathy? Is that what took place? What exactly took place there? Well, so that is his fourth term that he has been there. But preceding that, let me put it this way. Comoros Supreme Court on Thursday approved plans by incumbent President Azali Asmani to run for another term in the next election due on January 14. Asmani will be running for a fourth term after winning his third election in 2019. He will face 9 opponents, according to. Now, this includes former Interior Minister Salim Isa, a medical doctor and flag bearer of the Jua Party. Now, the election is facing possibly boycott by opponents who say the electoral process lacks transparency. And they will only participate if certain conditions, such as release of political prisoners, are met. Well, that didn't happen. That small archipelago nation situated in the Indian Ocean has a population of just 800,000. It has seen more than 20 coups or attempted coups since independence from France in the 1970s. So I think when they sleep and they wake up, shake themselves up, we're gonna conduct a coup d'etat, and then they just got on there. But well, Asmani has said that he has won. Not he saying that, but the Electoral Commission says he won the election, and with what? 62 points percentage win. 10 out, 16 point. Is it 5%? That's a bad one there. Okay. Now, kidnapping and killings have returned back to Nigeria. Federal capital Abuja axis after over 10 months of silence from the bandits. Well, we have some of them sitting down there with a picture of them as to whether they are the ones who captured the looks like, let me bring you that because it's just a news that came in. An bandit last week attacked travelers on the Abuja-Kaduna highway and abducted over 30 people. Witnesses and community leaders said the abduction took place at Dogonfield near Katari along the Kaduna-Abuja highway in Kachia local government area of Kaduna State. This is the first time in more than 10 months when the security along the road artery was breached. Also, 10 persons were kidnapped in the Doche Alhaji area of the FCT at Abuja after the gunmen, reportedly dressed as military men, invaded the community. According to eyewitnesses, the kidnappers, dressed like herders, invaded the estate in the evening around 7:30 p.m., taking hostages. But as to whether they've been arrested, the Fulanis are mainly the problem. Sometimes you see them with arms and nobody to caution them. They walk freely with machetes and other arms, so they should be controlled and put them in order, said another resident, Charles Obodo. Abuja, a city known for its status as a political and administrative hub of Nigeria, is grappling with a rising tide of kidnappings that seemingly knows no bound. Oh boy. Yesterday we had information coming through saying that some more of the victims have been killed. Okay, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let me bring you this, and there we go. From the eastern part of Africa, Rwanda has announced on Tuesday that it thwarted an incursion by soldiers from the Democratic Republic of Congo, resulting in the death of one soldier and the capture of 2 others along their shared border. Now, according to a statement from Rwanda Defense Forces, the RDF, the Congolese soldiers crossed into Rwandan territory near Rubavu town during a confrontation with a patrol. One soldier was fatally shot while attempting to open fire, while the other 2 were subsequently apprehended. The RDF disclosed that the captured soldiers were in possession of an AK-47 rifle for magazines, loaded with 105 rounds of ammunition and protective vests and sachets of cannabis. Now, Sylvain Ekengbe, a spokesperson for the Congolese military, claimed to be unaware of the incident when approached for comment. Of course, if he doesn't know, he doesn't know, right? Or unless he's hiding something. Okay. Listeners, it's Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, let's go to Ghana. I got two stories to bring your way, one from the president and one from the finance minister. The president Akufo-Addo has revealed that his government neglected development in the country due to the residents' decision to vote Francis Atuo out of parliament in the 2020 elections. The president expressed dissatisfaction with the voting pattern in the country during an interaction with traditional leaders from the constituency and the Jubilee House. Really? President Akufo-Addo said despite appointing Atukujo as Deputy Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture to bring development to the area, the constituents voted him out, which he was not pleased with. Atukujo was your MP and I made him a Deputy Minister and you voted him out in the last election, and because of that, I did not pay attention to development in your area. I have to be honest with you, but since you have brought it up, I will pay attention to it. Really? Traditional leaders visited the Jubilee House to appeal to the president for increased development to enhance the living standards of their people. Now, despite losing the 2016 parliamentary election, Abeku Krenso returned in 2020 to defeat Francis Atukujo. Now, President Akufo-Addo, after hearing the plea, assured them that despite his disappointment, he will do his best to develop the area. Is it his money? So, that is what I say there. I think we've given our presidents so much power that they decide to say, you know what, we won't develop that particular place because they don't like us. They don't vote for us. But should that happen? The funds in the state, is it all coming from his constituency or where he hails from, his country, his hometown, or it comes from the whole of Ghana? So you got it. Very sad if our leaders behave this way. It's one of those things that continues to happen on the African continent. Should it be that he's running again and you have some people still going there trying to vote for him there as well? It's not coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, still in Ghana. The Member of Parliament for Akime Buakwa South, Samuel Atecha, has expressed the belief that the resignation of Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will bring peace to the country. Atecha underscored the need for self-reflection on Ofori-Atta's part, urging him to consider stepping down for his personal well-being and the overall benefit of the ruling New Patriotic Party. During an interview yesterday, the lawmaker from Ebuakwa South appealed to the finance minister to prioritize the nation's interests and contemplate resigning from his position. For me, what is very frightening is that you have a whole army of people saying, "Look, you've had enough." I think that that could be a way for him to relax. Look at all the burdens on one man. So it is his individual decision to make as to whether he should go or he should continue. Furthermore, Atuecha expressed the view that Ofori-Atta's resignation might contribute to creating a more peaceful environment for both the government and the nation. And he should look at himself and look at the troubles that everybody believes. Good and to say, when he is not there, then the nation will have peace. He should save himself and save the government and have his peace and have his peace because he needs it. Mr. Atecha is saying the demands for Ofori-Atta's resignation have been increasing for several months, driven by certain members of parliament within the NPP. The opposition National Democratic Congress has been particularly outspoken consistently holding the finance ministers responsible for prevailing fiscal challenges. Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta expressed deep emotional distress and disappointment when calls were made for President Akufo-Addo to either dismiss him or for him to resign from his position. In an exclusive interview on the state media on Sunday, that was in 2023, August 6th, Techa revealed that he flat-battered and broken during the protests. Now, however, he emphasized his commitment to a singular duty to remain in office and serve his beloved country in its effort to recover from economic challenges. Well, so that's what he's saying. So he's trying to do his best to make sure that he takes the country out of the doldrums that they find themselves in. But what do you think about all that? This is all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. So what kind of leaders have we actually got? In another story developing from Ghana as well, the University of Ghana has denied any connection between its students and the recent assault of a suspected homosexual individual that occurred on its campus. In an official statement, the university asserted that any member of its community found to be part of the alleged cruel incident will face appropriate sanctions. This follows the circulation of a viral video on social media depicting a naked young man being assaulted in the southern part of the university campus. Oh boy. Well, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. Everybody has a right to live. I'm not the person to kill the person. I may not agree with your stance, but I'm not go on that path to take your life. I don't have that power. Well, it is Starr Radio UK. But I'm not saying that if somebody is robbing you, you've been kidnapped, then you sit aloof and just watch them. Nah, you deal with them, right? Well, it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I bring it a time now to 11:36. And it is the Wednesday edition of the morning show. I'll be taking you to the House of Parliament exactly at 12 o'clock. But wherever you are, if you want to join in the conversation, 0208-133-2257 is the number. And then if you want to text or WhatsApp at 0753-966-1744, 0753-966-1744. Our Twitter handle is Starr Radio UK. And email is info@starradiouk.com. Okay, so now let's move on to the latter part of the program, moving on to other parts of the world as well. Now, Iran has hit a third country this week with strikes on Pakistan militants. Now, what is Tehran up to? Now, Iran said it has hit a militant group in western Pakistan in a missile attack. Its third airstrike on another country this week after earlier attacks on targets in Iraq and Syria. Iranian state TV said operation hit two sites in the Balochistan linked to the militant group Jaish al-Adil. Now, Pakistan officials said 2 children were killed and 3 others injured. Islamabad said the airstrike was an illegal act and warned it could lead to serious consequences. The latest airstrike come at a time of growing tensions across the Middle East, with more than 100 days of war between Israel and the Palestinian group Hamas in Gaza and recent US-UK airstrike on Yemen, from where Iran-backed Houthi militants have been attacking commercial ships in the Red Sea. China on Wednesday urged Pakistan and Iran to show restraint and avoid actions that would lead to an escalation of tension. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning added that Beijing saw the countries as close neighbors. Now, on Tuesday, strikes in Pakistan hit a village in the vast southwestern border province of Balochistan. Tehran said it was targeting Jaish al-Adl, or Army of Justice, an ethnic Baloch Sunni Muslim group that has carried out attacks inside Iran as well as on Pakistani government forces. Now, late on Monday, Iran fired ballistic missile against the targets in Iraq, northern city of Iber, and then prompting condemnation by the U.S. Iran's Revolutionary Guard said they struck what they claim were an Israeli spy headquarters in Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdistan region. 4 civilians were killed and 6 hurt in the attack, local authorities have said. But before then, Iran had also hit Syria, northwestern Idlib province, which is the last remaining opposition stronghold in the country outside of Syrian government control, and it's home to 2.9 million displaced people, many of whom are living in dire conditions in camps. Now, Iran's Revolutionary Guard said the strikes in Syria were in retaliation for this man's suicide bombing that killed 84 as crowds mark the 4th anniversary of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani assassination by the U.S. This is Starr Radio UK. This is the Wednesday edition of the morning show. Now, in other stories making the rounds this morning as well, French President Emmanuel Macron has come off the fence and opened the way for policies that are unmistakably on the political right. This is the unanimous verdict after he gave a long televised press conference on Tuesday evening. He promoted uniforms in schools, a crackdown on drugs, gangs, and steps to boost France's declining birth rate. Now, left-wing commentators deplored his apparent shift from the crafted political balance of recent years, but they said they suspected all along the right was where his heart lay. Commentators on the right said they were delighted by his apparent conversion to their views, but suspected it was all a sham. The Macron appeared for 2.5 hours period around 2.5 hours before around 100 journalists assembled in the Salle des Fêtes of the Elysee Palace. It was billed as a chance to meet the nation and set the theme for his last 3 years in office after accusations that he had lost his reforming touch after a re-election in 2022. It also came 1 week after President Macron's appointment of a new government under Gabriel Attal, the youngest prime minister in France, in France's French history. Mr. Attal leads a cabinet whose make-up is noticeably more right-wing than its predecessors. The president's language certainly suggested that he had recalibrated his program to counter the program challenge from the hard-right nationalists of Marine Le Pen. Her National Rally party is tipped to come first in European elections in June. Developing his idea of civic rearmament, he said, inculcation of French Republican values in school children was key to France remaining France. Now, every generation must learn that republic means a history, duties, rights, language, respect, and they must learn it from childhood, he said. I'm going to say that's a good one there. Trying to get everybody to think like the French thinks. If you are in France, do what the French do. So you think like the French, you walk like a French, and you be like a French. Yeah? Good. All right then. Listen to Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. One more story. Okay, a couple of stories from there. Yesterday, Donald Trump was in the courts once again. The split screen of Donald Trump's re-election campaign and his parade of legal cases was on full display on Tuesday as the Republican frontrunner, fresh off a victory in the Iowa caucuses, took his seat in yet another New York courtroom to face a multi-million-dollar defamation suit. E. John Carroll, a columnist who Mr. Trump was previously found liable of sexually assaulting in the 1990s, is now seeking damages for defamatory statement he made about her during his presidency. Now, seated a few rows behind her, the former president stared intently at the woman he claims he never met, saw, or touched, and knows absolutely nothing about. Miss Carroll, for her part, did not appear to look at him. She faced towards the bench for nearly all the proceedings, allowing Mr. Trump only a few of her back. Unlike his last appearance in Manhattan court just last week in an entirely different case, Mr. Trump did not speak in the courtroom, but his restless and attentive posture projected a sense of agitation. Now, last May, a different jury trial found Mr. Trump had sexually assaulted and defamed Ms. Carroll, a decision he hopes to reverse on appeal. The findings of that case are considered relevant here. Now, this new trial is to determine whether Mr. Trump harmed her with a specific defamatory statement he made in 2019, and if so, how much money he must pay her in compensation. Now, Sean Crowley, one of Ms. Carroll's attorneys, said the jury will need to consider how much money Donald Trump should have to pay for what he's done. And she added, how much money will it take to make him stop? After Ms. Carroll came forward with the allegation of rape, Mr. Trump immediately sought to dismiss her claims from the White House. In June 2019, Mr. Trump called her account a total false accusation and said, I have no idea who this woman is. Now, those statements, her lawyers argue, impugned her reputation and unleashed a torrent of death threats, rape threats, and online vitriol. Ms. Crowley told the court the former president had unleashed his followers to go after Carroll to threaten her life. And that seems to be what she's doing all the time. But what do you think? This is Starr Radio UK. This is the Wednesday edition of the morning show. Now, one other story that is making the round that I really want to touch on before I go. A US-bound Anna flight was forced to return to Tokyo after an intoxicated passenger beat a crew member mid-flight. The man, reportedly a 55-year-old American, was heavily drunk when he beat a cabinet attendant, slightly injuring her. A spokesman for the airline told the press. Japanese media said the man told police he had taken a sleeping pill and did not remember what happened. It is the latest in a series of recent incidents to affect Japanese aviation. The plane, which reportedly had 159 passengers on board, was over the Pacific Ocean when the incident happened, prompting its pilot to turn back to Tokyo and Haneda Airport. There, the man was handed over to police, the airline said. It is the second incident to impact Anna in recent days and the fifth involving the Japanese aviation industry in a matter of weeks. On Saturday, domestic Anna flight in Japan had to turn back after a crack was discovered in the windows of the cockpit. The crack appeared in the outermost of the 4 layers of window surrounding the cockpit, and there were no injuries to anyone on board. The crack was not something that affected the flight's control, though. Well, Japan. Pressurization. So it didn't affect the flight control or pressurization. So the pressure in the cabin was okay. The most serious of the recent incident occurred at Haneda on the 2nd of January when a Japanese Airlines aircraft collided with a smaller Coast Guard plane there. Well, listeners, it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, 11:48 the time. your favorite African and Caribbean radio station, the place, Starr Radio UK. I am Archie. Let's take a quick break. We come back and I bring you what is happening here in the UK, and we see what is happening in the Parliament today. Stay tuned and don't you go away.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. That's it.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business. The show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Okay, welcome back to the program, and apologies for that sound in the background. But there's the technical team trying to prepare us to take us to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. But wherever you are, don't touch the dial. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. So now let's go to the latter part of the program before I bring the first part to a close, and then we'll take you to the Houses of Parliament for the Prime Minister's questions time. So, soon as to face Prime Minister's question time ahead of Rwanda bill vote, the Prime Minister will face Keir Starmer before MPs vote on government flagship Rwanda bill. We know he's lost two of his the deputy chair of the party. So how is that going to be panning out for him? Is it going to impact his quest to have this Rwanda bill passed? Bad, good, or whatever it is. What do you think about all that? Yes. It is Starr Radio UK. Now, in another story, it says that a series of fantasist lies that she was groomed by an Asian gang are set out in 50 hours of police videos. The footage shared exclusively with the BBC tracks Elena Williams' deceit as it becomes more elaborate over a 3-year period. One video shows her with self-inflicted facial wounds while acting drugged. Williams, 23, from Barrows in Furness, Cumbria, was jailed for 8.5 years after being found guilty of perverting the course of justice. Now, false allegations of rape are extremely rare, but when they are made, then they can seriously undermine the credibility of genuine victims, according to the Crown Prosecution Service. And that is very, very true. That's why care has to be taken that people don't behave that way. Because if you do that, then those who are actually facing such challenge or ill will not be able to come out, or whenever they come out, the authorities look at it and think, oh, it's one of those lies, so let's just leave it. But it might not be so. So please. Well, so come your way from Starr Radio UK. In another story, some children with cancer are receiving a new type of drug treatment far less toxic than chemotherapy. Now, Ata 11 is one of the first to try it at London's Great Ormond Street Hospital for his blood cancer. His family calls the therapy a little bit of sunshine, since it worked without making Arthur feel much sicker. And because it could be given on the go rather than just in hospital, he spent more time at home with his family, enjoying more of what he loved. He carried it with him in the rucksack, his Blaina backpack. Now, for Arthur, Blaina Tumomap or Blaina was his only real option after his chemo, and he had failed to clear all. After it had failed to clear all his cancer and had left him very weak. But if he's doing the work, why not? He looks much better in the picture that is before me, and we hope that the treatment gives him the relief, the total relief that he needs. One final story, and then we leave, we cross to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. The UK inflation rate rose to 4% in the year to December, according to the Office of National Statistics. Now, for anyone who bought cigarette and everyone who wants to buy alcohol, you are the ones who have fund that inflation. Now, economists had been forecasting a fall from 3.9 last month to 3.7, but tobacco and alcohol prices rises have largely driven an unexpected increase instead. The Bank of England is still expected to cut interest rates later this year, despite the shock uptick. Chancellor Jeremy Hunt says inflation does not fall in a straight line, but insists our plan is working. Inflation, which measures the pace at which prices are rising, has been slowing down in the UK since peaking at 11.1% in October 2022. But the cost of living remains high. The Bank of England targets for inflation is 2%. So 4% is still on the higher side. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where I bring the program to a close for today. I'll be taking you to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. So wherever you are, don't touch the dial. Let's take a quick break and bring you some music and prepare the grounds to take you to the Houses of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. Stay tuned and don't touch the dial. Hey, Charlie, you're on your way to Ghana. Boy, oh boy, you stressed out, tired. Go, you're going to be resting. Okay, then let me recommend to you JN Mobile Spa in Accra, Ghana. Oh boy, JN Mobile Spa will provide organic care in massage. Are you stressed? Do you need rejuvenated, etc.? For your facials, maybe exfoliating, firming, and lifting? Then contact JN Spa on 00233 244 941 002 or 00233 2006 06386, and they will be right there on time. JN Mobile Spa, your health and
energy
beauty
supplies don't want you to know about this trip to warm up how.
Hungry man say fix the country, Bellefou say fix yourself.
This is Starr Radio UK.
So we all they pray for change. Country hot, Charlie.
This is Starr Radio. This is Starr Radio UK.
Even begin the feel
You are listening to Star Radio Morning Show. Enlighten your day with Star Radio.
Fix the country. We say fix yourself. Hey, tell me who be the country? Tell me you be the country. Fix yourself. We say fix the country. They say fix yourself. Fix the country. We say fix yourself. Hey, tell me who be the country? Tell me you be the country. Fix yourself.
In your car,
At work,
at home,
on your smartphone. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
We live like cops in a barrel. Shayo, Babeshi and low. Hey, we say fix the country. We say fix yourself. Fix the country. We say fix yourself. Hey, tell me who be the country? Now you be the country. Fix yourself. I wanna hear that. Hey, we say fix the country. You say fix yourself. Fix the country. We say fix yourself. Hey, tell me who be the country? Me be the country. You be the country. Fix yourself. I hear that. Your minimum wage be hand to mouth. The government know the pay for month. From the same pay the king go chop, the bills go come, carry a bomb. Oh, civil servants, then magicians, building mansions after few years. Now who cares about the coffers? And each man living for himself. We say fix the country. You say fix yourself. Fix the country. We say fix yourself. Hey, tell me who be the country? Me be the country. And you be the country. Fix yourself. Kala kala, kala kala. We say fix the country. You say fix yourself. Fix the country. We say fix yourself.
in your car,
At work,
at home,
on your smartphone.
Fix the country. We say fix yourself. Hey, tell me you be the country. Tell me you be the country. Fix yourself. What a plenty, the move be festive. What a plenty, the move be festive. You will get to go, plenty go. But we still they borrow, they go. To get a job, baby, who you know. We live like cops in a barrel. Shayo, Babeshi and low. Hey, we say fix the country. You say fix yourself. Fix the country. We say fix yourself. Hey, tell me who be the country. Now you be the country. Fix yourself. I wanna hear.
Okay, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. It's now we're not taking you straight to the House of Parliament for the question time. So wherever you are, let me say thank you very much for joining us today. So they take over from the Houses of Parliament. Have a lovely day, and I see you all.
The government knows the pay for month. From the same pay the king go chop, the bills go come, carry a bomb.
Make dementia a priority by driving up diagnosis rates, bolstering dementia research, investing in social care, and improving access to the most innovative diagnostic methods and improving access to new life-changing treatments.
Prime Minister. Well, can I send my warmest wishes to my honourable friend and his father and family, and I recognise that a dementia diagnosis can bring worry, both for the person who is diagnosed, but also their wider family. And my honourable friend is absolutely right about the timely diagnosis of dementia. It's vital to make sure that those affected can access the care and support they need. NHS England is actually carrying out a pilot to make sure that we can improve dementia diagnosis in care homes. Our major condition strategy also includes a focus on dementia, but crucially, as my honourable friend said, we are now doubling the funding for dementia research so we can help everyone, including his father.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Can I send my best wishes to the honourable member and his father also, and all those suffering in this way? Mr. Speaker, I can't let today pass without saying how saddened I was by the tragic death of Bronson Battersby, aged just 2, who died in heartbreaking circumstances in Skegness. I know that this House will join me in sending our deepest sympathies to his family. Mr. Speaker, the government has been forced to admit that it has lost contact with 85% of the 5,000 people earmarked for removal to Rwanda. Has he found them yet?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, what I can tell the honourable gentleman is that in spite of him blocking every single attempt that we have taken, we have managed now, because of our actions, to reduce the number of people coming here by over a third last year, remove over 20,000 people from this country back to their home countries, carried out 70% more illegal enforcement raids, arrested hundreds of people, closed down thousands of bank accounts, and processed over 100,000 cases, the biggest number in over 20 years, Mr. Speaker. That's because on this side of the House, we want to stop the boats, we have a plan, it's working, and with him, we would just go back to square one.
My first thought is, how do you actually lose 4,250 people? Then you remember that this is the government that scrapped HS2, but the costs are still rising by billions. This is the government that spent £400 million of taxpayers' money on a Rwanda scheme, yet can't deport a single person. And this is the government that waged a week-long war on the Greek Prime Minister for reasons known only to themselves. And suddenly you're reminded that, of course, this farce of a government could lose the people it was planning to remove. But he didn't answer the question, so I'll ask him again. Where are the 4,250 people that the government has lost? Where are they?
Mr. Speaker, as I said, we've actually identified and removed over 20,000 people from this country back to where they belong. But he asks these questions about the Rwanda scheme, Mr. Speaker. That it is important that we get this up and running, because it's important, as the National Crime Agency say, that we have a working deterrence to resolve this issue. That's indeed how Australia solved this problem, and that's how Albania has worked for us. But we know he asked these questions, Mr. Speaker, about the detail of these things, but we all know he doesn't actually care about solving this problem, and we know this because when the BBC asked him about the Rwanda plan, they quizzed him and they said, if the numbers crossing the channel on small boats decline, i.e. so it's working, would you still reverse it? The Labour leader said yes. It's crystal clear he doesn't have a plan, and it will be back to square one.
Mr. Speaker, spending £400 million on a plan not to get anybody to Rwanda whilst losing 4,000 people is not a plan. It's a farce. Only this government could waste hundreds of millions of pounds on a removals policy that doesn't remove anyone. Only this government could claim that it's going to get flights off the ground only to discover they couldn't find a plane. Only this government could sign a removal deal with Rwanda, only to end up taking people from Rwanda to here. But he still hasn't answered the question. So I'll try again. What progress has he made in locating the 4,250 people his government has apparently lost? He's dodged it 3 times. Where are they?
Mr. Speaker, it's the same thing again and again. Here we are talking about what we are doing, but I'm happy to go over it, Mr. Speaker. What are we doing? We've increased the number of illegal enforcement raids by 70%, leading to thousands of arrests, using powers, Mr. Speaker, that he blocked in this House. We have closed down thousands of bank accounts of illegal workers, again, using powers that he blocked, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Mr. Do you want that early cup of tea, or are you going to be a little bit more silent, Prime Minister?
And Mr. Speaker, as I said, we have worked through a record number of cases and returned a record number of people back back to where they've come. All of that is a plan that is working, and we can see that it's working because the numbers of people coming to this country are down by over a third, Mr. Speaker. But again, it is a bit rich to hear him in here pretending that he cares about how we actually stop the boats when he's been crystal clear. He's been crystal clear and said that even if the plan is working to reduce the numbers, he would still scrap it, Mr. Speaker. It's because he has no values, no conviction, and no plan. It is back to square one.
No.
He hasn't got a clue where they are, has he? I can tell you one place they aren't, and that's Rwanda. Because the only people who sent to Rwanda is cabinet ministers. And for all the word, the ridiculous thing is, we know the Prime Minister himself doesn't even believe in this Rwanda gimmick. He had to be talked out of scrapping the whole thing. He didn't want to fund it. He didn't think it would work. When he sees his party tearing itself apart, hundreds of bald men scrapping over a single broken comb, doesn't he wish he'd had the courage to stick to his guns?
Well, Mr. Speaker, now, I have absolute conviction that the plan we've put in place will work. Absolute conviction, because I believe it's important that we grip this problem. Now, he spends a lot of his time in this House talking about his time as a lawyer, Mr. Speaker, and I would urge him to listen to them, because Lord Wolfson has said that our bill severely limits the... Four eminent KCs have said that it is undoubtedly the most robust piece of immigration legislation this Parliament has seen, and Mr. Speaker, a former Supreme Court...
I want to hear what the Prime Minister's got to say, because it matters to my constituents, those who feels it doesn't matter to those. Please leave, Prime Minister.
As I said, Mr. Speaker, four eminent KCs said this is undoubtedly the most robust legislation passed, and a former Supreme Court Justice has been clear that the bill would work. But I know, Mr. Speaker, he's always been more interested in what lefty lawyers have to say, Mr. Speaker. I've even got here the textbook that he authored for them. And it's called, and I quote, European Human Rights Law by Keir Starmer. So...
Prime Minister, when I stand up, please sit down. Can I just say, we don't use props in this House, and I will certainly ensure that if you do need reminding, I certainly will. Keir Starmer.
It's such utterly pathetic nonsense. He's been brutally exposed by his own MPs yet again. He's got one party chair who says she hopes the Lords will rip his Rwanda deal to pieces. He's got two more who had to quit because they don't think it'll work. All of them appointed by him, all now in open revolt against his policy, each other, and reality. Is there any wonder they all think this gimmick is doomed to failure when the Prime Minister himself doesn't believe in it?
Mr. Speaker, it is rich to hear from the honourable gentleman about belief in something, because it will be news to him. It is actually the case that you can believe in something and stick to that position on this side of the House.
I will say to this side. Oh, hello. Somebody's chipping in from over. Can I just say it's very important. It's an important day. People want to know what's going on. So I want my constituents, just like yours, to hear what the Prime Minister's got to say. Prime Minister.
Just this week, Mr. Speaker, we had another example of the honourable gentleman doing one thing, saying another, because this week he backed the Home Secretary in banning the terrorist group Hizb ut-Tahrir, despite him personally using the European Court of Human Rights to try and stop them being banned. And don't take my word for it, Mr. Speaker, the extremist's own press release said, and I quote, the Hizb ut-Tahrir legal team led by Keir Starmer. Now, I I know he doesn't like talking about them because they've been a client, but when I see a group chanting jihad on our streets, I ban them, he invoices them.
Because there's 8 questions that I think some of you may want. Well, I'll tell you what, there's some's already gone off the list who wanted them. Keir Starr.
Mr. Speaker, if he stuck to his position, he'd be voting with us. He'd be voting with us. His former Home Secretary says the plan won't work. His current Home Secretary calls it batshit. His former Immigration Minister doesn't back his plan. Even the Prime Minister himself doesn't believe in it. And last week, another of his MPs said the Tories should admit that things have got worse since they came to office, that after 14 years they've left Britain less united, the country is a sadder place. If the Prime Minister can't even persuade his own MPs that it's worth supporting him, if he himself doesn't even believe in his own policies, why on earth should anyone else think differently?
Mr. Speaker, another week when it's crystal clear the Honourable Gentleman doesn't believe in anything and he doesn't have a plan. Now, while he talks the country down, let me update him on what's actually been happening in the past week. Inflation more than halved from 11% to 4%. Real wages rising. Real wages rising for the 5th month in a row. Last week, rates started falling and millions of people benefited from a tax cut worth £450. So while he takes us back to square one with a £28 billion tax grab, let's stick with a plan that's delivering a brighter future for Britain.
Mr. Speaker, it's against the law to silence victims of crime, but that's exactly what the Post Office did through the use of non-disclosure agreements. And this is just the most recent case of NDAs covering up mismanagement, misconduct, and even crimes at work. Will my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, consider banning their use in all severance agreements once and for all?
Prime Minister.
My right honourable friend is right to raise an important point, and the ability to speak out about things is key to unlocking justice. And while NDAs can have a place, my right honourable friend is right to say that they shouldn't be used to stop victims of crime, in particular, getting the justice that they deserve. I can tell her that the Ministry of Justice are carefully considering how to best address this issue, including legislation, and I know that my right honourable friend, the Justice Secretary, will keep the House updated on further progress.
Leader of the SNP, Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, when people woke up today in homes that they can't afford to heat, with mortgages that they're struggling to pay, to news that inflation is once again on the rise, they'll have looked to Westminster for answers, and instead they find a UK government which is tearing itself apart over how quickly it can send vulnerable people on a plane to Rwanda. Surely the Prime Minister must understand that the anger that some of his own backbenchers have towards him is no comparison to the anger that the public have towards his party.
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, if the Honourable Gentleman did care about supporting working families to pay their bills, to pay their mortgage, why on earth is the SNP making Scotland the highest tax part of the United Kingdom, where the average, Mr. Speaker, not the wealthiest, where the average worker in Scotland is now paying more tax than they do in England?
Stephen Flynn. Of course, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the Rwanda bill, the reality is that if you want to stop the smuggling gangs, you should introduce safe and legal routes. But instead, the Prime Minister is seeking to weaponise some of the most vulnerable people in society. It is straight out of the cruel and callous right-wing extremist playgroup. His time in office is fast approaching its conclusion. Does he seriously want this to be his legacy?
Prime Minister. Well, Mr. Speaker, I said it is important that we stop the boats because illegal migration is simply not fair, Mr. Speaker. It's not right that some people jump the queue that they take away our resources to help those who are the most compassionate, that need our most help, and, by the way, Mr. Speaker, are exploited by gangs, and many of them lose their lives making these dangerous crossings. So I completely disagree with the honourable gentleman. The fair and the compassionate thing to do is to break these criminal gangs, and that's why we're going to stop the boats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unexpectedly, 5 months ago, I had a heart attack. And thanks to the swift action of the NHS emergency services, it was caught early. So one stent operation later, I was on a swift path to rehabilitation and recovery, and stand here today, fighting fit and a bit lighter too. So along with encouraging everyone to visit the British Heart Foundation website to understand the early warning signs and get fantastic resources to help them, would the Prime Minister also join me in personally thanking everyone who helped to save my life and help me recover, including the East of England Ambulance Service, the teams at Watford General and Harefield Hospital, the cardiac rehabilitation teams, and everyone who supported me, especially my family and my team, some of whom are in the gallery today, who helped ensure that I continue to deliver for the great people of Watford.
I thank my honourable friend for sharing his story, and I know the whole House will be delighted to hear that he's made a swift recovery. We all wish him good health for the future as he resumes his excellent campaigning on behalf of his constituents in Watford. And I also join him in thanking our fantastic NHS staff for the life-saving work that they do up and down the country. We're backing them with record resources, from our doctors to our ambulance service. We are all in this House truly grateful for what they do.
Caroline Lucas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Until the UK government calls for an immediate ceasefire, it is complicit in the horrors in Gaza. Not my words, but those of the head of Oxfam, who, like every single agency trying to operate on the ground, is clear that aid can't be effectively delivered while fighting continues. More UK aid is of course welcome, but even when it does get through, it can result in what one Palestinian aid worker calls bombing us on full stomachs. 24,000 people have already been killed. So can he tell us what will it take for him to back a permanent bilateral ceasefire?
Mr. Speaker, of course we want to see a peaceful resolution to this conflict as soon as possible. A sustainable permanent ceasefire with an end to the destruction, fighting and loss of life, release of hostages and no resumption of hostilities would of course be the best way forward. But in order to achieve that, a number of things need to happen. Hamas would have to agree to release all the hostages. Hamas would no longer have to be in charge of Gaza, and the threat of more rocket attacks from Hamas into Israel would have to end. And the Palestinian Authority, boosted with assistance, would need to return to Gaza in order to provide governance and aid. That is the sustainable ceasefire that we will work very hard to bring about.
Nick Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today I was unsure whether to raise a national issue, such as the desperate need for a Minister for Men, or a local issue, such as Doncaster's need for a new hospital or Edlington for a new leisure centre. But I thought the best thing I could do is ask the Prime Minister to come and have a tour of Doncaster. And while I'm showing him around my hometown, I can press the need for a Minister for Men, I can show him the site for a new hospital, and I can introduce him to the people of Edlington so he can discuss their new leisure centre. So will the Prime Minister accept my invitation?
Well, thanks to my honourable friend's fantastic campaigning on behalf of his constituents. Doncaster City Council has received, I think, more than £80 million in levelling up funding to support its regeneration products. And most recently, Doncaster has been awarded £20 million in our long-term plan for towns over the next 10 years, which I know he is working very hard to make sure is prioritised for local people. I would be delighted to discuss those projects and his other ideas when I come and visit him as soon as my diary allows.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 71% of requests for funding from the Community Ownership Fund aimed at saving libraries, pubs and village halls have been rejected since 2021. It pits communities against each other and does nothing to address the underlying causes that have led to the loss of these much-loved assets. When will the government offer more than a simple sticking plaster for our towns, high streets and communities?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I set up the Community Community Ownership Fund when I was Chancellor, and it is doing fantastic work, funding hundreds of projects across the country, including, I believe, one in the Honourable Lady's own constituency, the Back on the Map scheme. It is there to support local communities to take over assets, whether it's pubs, village halls or other community assets, and it's doing a fantastic job. It's right that there's a competitive process because we want to make sure that money is deployed in the areas where it can make the most difference.
Greg Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Overcrowding on Chiltern railways has become a daily misery for commuters from stations like Haddenham and Tame Parkway and Princes Risborough in my constituency, the root cause of which is an ageing fleet constantly breaking down and shorter trains having to be run. There are proposals on the table for both short-term additional capacity and long-term fleet renewal. So will my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, instruct the Department of Transport to fast-track those proposals so we can end overcrowding on Chiltern?
Prime Minister.
And I agree with my honourable friend that the performance on Chiltern hasn't been good enough in recent times. I know that Chiltern have recently begun engagement with the rolling stock leasing market, which will help reduce overcrowding, but also together with DFT, they're looking at providing additional capacity at peak times. So I know my honourable friend, the Rail Minister, will ensure that these plans continue to progress and keep my honourable friend updated.
Patrick Reddy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What exactly is it about the prospect of deportation to Rwanda that makes the government think it will be such a deterrent to asylum seekers? Does it think that life in Rwanda is somehow less comfortable, less secure, less safe than it is here in the United Kingdom? What does the government think is wrong with Rwanda that means asylum seekers won't want to live there?
Speaker, it's not that there's anything wrong with it, it's just that it's not the United Kingdom, Mr. Speaker. And I have to point out to the honourable gentleman that deterrence works. We know that it works because our scheme with Albania has ensured a 90% reduction in arrivals from that country.
Therese Coffey.
Mr. Speaker, I know my right honourable friend the Prime Minister is committed to energy security and the development of renewables, as am I, and that's why Sizewell C started a DCO this week. However, there are plenty of other developments which are happening on greenfield sites where CPOs are planned to be used by National Grid to plough up farming fields used for food but also tree production as well, when there are brownfield sites already available connected to the network. National Grid is refusing to publish its study of Bradwell and why they deem it would not be suitable for this connection of offshore wind farms and interconnectors. Will he meet with me to discuss this and other East Anglian MPs and also to use the powers of his office to get that study published?
As my honourable friend will know, the planning applications for new infrastructure are managed independently, so I can't comment on specific cases, but I do agree with her that it's important to listen to the views of local communities like those that she represents across Suffolk and East Anglia. I know my honourable friend for Aberdeenshire West was visiting her area recently to mark the commencement of the project at Sizewell C, and I can assure her that relevant ministers will continue to pay close attention to her concerns.
Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the House last week correctly described the contaminated blood scandal as on another level compared to other scandals. Now that Sir Brian Langstaff has announced today the publication of the final report of the infected blood inquiry, he reminds us, Mr. Speaker, that his principal recommendation remains that a compensation scheme should be set up with urgency and that no one should be in any doubt about the serious nature of the failings over more than 6 decades that led to catastrophic loss of life and compounded suffering. Prime Minister, over 100 parliamentarians wrote to you this week, so can you tell us now when those affected will be paid compensation for their loss?
Mr. Speaker, I'm acutely aware of the strength of feeling on this issue and indeed the suffering of all of those impacted by this dreadful scandal. I gave evidence to the inquiry last year, and as I said then, I recognise the suffering that thousands have experienced over decades. He will know that the Minister for the Cabinet Office updated Parliament on this towards the end of last year. He'll know it's a highly complex issue. Interim payments have been made in some cases, and we are committed, absolutely committed, to responding to the final report as quickly as possible following its publication.
Robert Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week,
Conservative-controlled Bromley Council's children's services were rated outstanding by Ofsted in all 4 areas of inspection, only the 3rd time that has happened under the current framework. Will he join me in congratulating the officers and members of Bromley Council, and perhaps even visit Bromley and see our new cost-saving civic centre?
Well, perhaps not quite on my way to Doncaster, but I'll bear it in mind. But can I join my honourable friend in paying tribute to Bromley Council and all the officers involved in providing what is an incredibly important service in their local community and looking after some of the most vulnerable children in our society. They all deserve our thanks and our praise for their brilliant efforts.
Dr. Rupert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. HS2 promised to transform intercity travel and my seat where Old Oak Common will be one day. But after Leeds and Manchester were ditched, it's London ends now in doubt. Could the PM today commit to ensuring it at least reaches Euston, or is he intent on stopping all transport forms, except private jets, maybe?
I think her leader might have something to say about the forms of transportation, Mr. Speaker, and perhaps on HS2 as well, because I still haven't actually heard from him his position on the whole subject. But we have, Mr. Speaker, I would say Old Oak Common is destined to be one of the foremost stations in the country because of the stationment and the extra connectivity that it will have across London as the initial terminus for HS2 trains. And as we said at the announcement, we are working with the private sector, as we have done in other developments in London, to raise private money, save the taxpayer money, and deliver the connection to Euston as planned.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've just got back from the inaugural Women's Health Summit. During the summit, it was announced that the specialist maternal mental health services will now be available to women in every part of England by March. This is particularly pertinent for me after one of my constituents, Jessica Cronshaw, passed away whilst pregnant with her baby Elsie after suffering with severe pregnancy sickness, hyperemesis gravidarum. So can I thank the government for following through with this important
This is Starr Radio UK.
Going with the spirit of this reform, so our NHS is fit for women in the future.
Thanks for listening.
For raising this matter, and I know the whole House will want to convey our sympathies to Jessica's family, but I'm pleased that the reforms that we are making will make a difference.